Greetings YouTube. This is a squirrel and bird feeder. Some of you might remember when I made it. It was quite a while ago. Back before I had a shop in the basement. And it's been very effective, as has the feeders that my mother-in-law has set up downstairs for both birds and squirrels. So effective, in fact, that it has attracted mice. So we now have mice in the building. So in an effort to persuade the mice to go elsewhere, I am no longer going to be putting food out here in this feeder. In fact, I haven't put any out in a week. So I'm kind of conditioning the squirrels and the birds to go elsewhere. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in that tree over there. And that will get them away from the building. And then I'm going to give the birds and squirrels some alternative, rather the mice, some alternative food sources, which will kill them. And then with the food gone and the bulk of the mice dead, I'm hoping that they will not return. So that's my plan. So now I'm going to go and build a feeder. So this is going to become the new feeder. This is a stainless steel 14 by 10 baking pan, and I've already marked out the places I'm going to drill holes. And I'm using this rod here, which is 1/2-inch rod. It's complete and utter overkill, don't get me wrong. But I already had it, so I'm just going to cut that into 8-inch lengths, and then we're going to use that along with a crap load of hardware to suspend this below this cookie sheet, which will become the top. So this will be upside down. This is right side up, and then I will then drill. Once I get these 4 holes done, I will use this as a template to mark holes in this. And then when I'm done with those 4 1/2-inch holes, I'm going to put some 1/4-inch holes in the corners for this hardware right here. And then that will be on the top, that the bolts will be facing downward when I'm done. This is going to be upside down. And that's going to then be suspended with this chain. And I'll be using these hooks, which they're free. I purchased a lot of hooks a couple years ago. So those are going to go in the tree, and then the whole thing's going to be suspended from this chain. I've got more chains than I need, I think, but we'll find out. So I'm going to have to figure out the lengths, cut the lengths, then bring it back down here so that I'll take the measurements, and then I'll bring it back down here to cut the lengths and figure out exactly how I want this. I want it relatively level. And when I'm finished, it will be strong enough to support the weight of both squirrels, and of course birds will be, birds are wicked light, so that's not a problem. But I want to make sure it'll support the weight of at least 1 or 2 squirrels, and it should do that without any difficulty. So my first task is going to be to drill these holes, and then drill these holes. So 4 in this, 8 in this, 4 1/2-inch, 4 1/2-inch, and then 4 1/4-inch. And then start bolting the whole thing together after I cut that rod. That's going to be the noisy, unpleasant part. I have to call my mother-in-law to make sure she has no students at the time, because it's going to make a lot of noise, and it's also going to dim the lights for a second. When I turn that saw on over there, all the lights go wow. Yeah, I'm pushing the amperage on my home circuit breaker just a bit. First up, drilling holes. Alrighty, all the holes have been drilled, and the 8-inch rods are cut and ready to roll. So now we're at the assemblage section, and so far I'm quite pleased to say I've only cut myself once, and it was very small. So I think we're doing pretty good. So now it's got time to put this assembly together, all the nuts and bolts and everything here. Then it's going to be a matter of going outside, making some measurements, coming back in, cutting up the chain, bending it, opening it so I can put it onto the eye bolts I've got, and I can just slide the chain over the hooks there. That's not going to be a big deal. So that's the next stage of the process. I'll show you the assemblage in a minute. Okay, here we go. This thing is complete as far as the construction is concerned. Here you can see this you have a nut, lock washer, and a slot washer. And top, you have a flat washer and a nut. I put the lock washer on the inside so that it's a little cleaner looking. And I put everything flush so that there's no sharp edges for the squirrels to injure themselves on. Everything's nice and clean and safe. And I got to tell you, folks, even by my standards, and I'm a believer in making things bulletproof, this thing is robust. This is the sturdiest squirrel feeder in the city that I live in. I can guarantee you, perchance the state of New Hampshire. This is just unbelievably rigid. So now it's going to go outside, put those in the tree first, put the 2 in, then figure out the spacing for the next 2, and then start working on the chain. And here we have the finished feeder. Now it's interesting that I got the 2 chains on the left, the long ones, the right rather, the long ones correct. These I did not. I ended up having some extra loopies up there. I don't care about the extra loopies, they're not going to hurt anything. And it's relatively level. It's not perfect, but it also is, it was slightly torqued ever so much when I was tightening everything down. I think that might be because the holes in the top and the bottom may not be perfectly in line with each other. Regardless, it is not going anywhere, and it is very sturdy, and I could probably hang from this thing if I wanted to. So I'm not worried about these squirrels putting too much weight on it, and it's already loaded with peanuts and seeds, and I'm sure the squirrels will find it relatively quickly because there are 2. Well, you can't really see. Oh, there you can. You might be able to see that one up there. That's a squirrel dray, and I think there's a second one further up. Though maybe in the tree to my left. I'm not positive. But yeah, and then there's of course squirrels from other parts of the neighborhood that do come here. Now, one thing I did discover is doing this right there, opening this up, putting it around this eye bolt, and then closing it again was a bit of a bear. I had to use a cold chisel and essentially hammer this way to separate it, and then hammer this way to open it up all the way, close it, put it in there, stick this section in a vise, and then hammer that closed. So that took a little bit of figuring out how to do it, but by the time I hit the 4th one, I pretty much knew what I was doing. See that misshapen one up there? Yeah, that was my attempt to do it at first. Didn't go so well. So there you go. This is the most sturdy squirrel feeder ever, and I'm hoping that the squirrels and the birds will appreciate it. The only disadvantage of this particular setup is that it's far from my house, which is way over there, which means it's going to be more difficult to get to in the wintertime, but I'll figure it out. I may have to just put boots on and walk over here. But there you go. That has been my newest craft build, a feeder for the birds and the squirrels.